Today on the newscast, is a crisis brewing in U.S.-Israel relations as Biden slams Bibi? Get all the breaking details next. Hey folks, Eric Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman newscast. We've been following the chaos in Israel over the past few days very closely here on the newscast. Yesterday, we reported that Israel's enemies, chief among them the Iranian regime and Hezbollah, are gloating over the bitter internal division in Israel right now. If you missed it, check it out here in our archives on our homepage. Just go to newscast and you will find it right there. That was yesterday. And then on Monday, March 27th, we had a great breakdown of the state of play, the situation on the ground in Israel, with our good friend Alex Trayman reporting from Jerusalem. If you're confused about what this all means and why there's protest in the streets of Israel and what the broader implications are and the real reason behind the opposition to Prime Minister Netanyahu, I encourage you to check those interviews out. Hey, while you're there, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted here on The Watchman. For such a time as this, clearly there is a lot going on in Israel and the broader Middle East right now. I mentioned that Israel's enemies are gloating over these mass protests surrounding the proposed judicial reform legislation. Prime Minister Netanyahu announced Monday that he would postpone, at least temporarily, his push for that judicial overhaul, in which basically, folks, he's seeking to balance out Israel's Supreme Court, which has become very left-wing and doesn't have much oversight. So, in his view, he's seeking to rectify that. The Biden administration does not like that very much, and then some. President Biden yesterday made some very strong comments against Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking to reporters on multiple occasions on Tuesday, March 28th. He was asked about the situation on the ground in Israel, and Biden said, quote, Israel, or Bibi in particular, cannot continue down this road. He called on Bibi to permanently suspend the judicial reform legislation. He questioned, or he said he was very concerned about the state of Israel's democracy, and he said Bibi will not be invited to the White House. He said that pretty emphatically on camera, at least in the near term. So, folks, what we had is basically a supposed ally of Israel, Israel's strongest ally, supposedly, publicly castigating the leader and the government of Israel and wading in to an internal domestic Israeli issue. So, folks, in some ways you could say this was an unprecedented slam by an American leader wading into, again, an internal political situation in another country, which is, by the way, a sovereign nation, and the government of Prime Minister Netanyahu was elected by the people of Israel. Yet Biden had much to say. What are the broader implications of this, folks? I'm going to break it down in a minute. But up first, remember, all of this controversy and chaos in Israel comes just 1 week before Israelis begin the Passover holiday. It's a time of celebration and observance. Yet over 2.5 million Israelis are living in poverty this Passover season, including over 1 million children. Thankfully, our good friends at Meir Panim are stepping up to help. Meir Panim's top-notch restaurant-style soup kitchens are providing warm meals to these needy Israelis in a comfortable dining setting. Meir Panim also delivers monthly grocery packages to families who can't make it to one of their 5 branches across Israel. Folks, I've seen the work Meir Panim does up close, including providing meals for Holocaust survivors. We're proud to partner with this great Israeli organization here on The Watchman and to fulfill the biblical mandate to bless the people of Israel. To help Meir Panim provide Israel's hungry with the food and care they need this Passover by donating monthly grocery packages, just visit meirpanim.ericstakelbeck.com. It's a great cause that we truly believe in, so you will want to check that out. Back to the controversy here now over the Biden slam of Bibi Netanyahu. Folks, in many ways, people are saying, look, this is unprecedented. But you have to remember that Joe Biden was the vice president under Barack Obama not too long ago, which many considered the most anti-Israel administration in American history. There are many holdovers in the Biden administration from that Obama administration, and many of them are hostile to Benjamin Netanyahu. Remember, throughout Obama's tenure as president, 2 terms, he was dealing with Bibi. Bibi was the prime minister of Israel also during that time, and the 2 leaders famously did not get along very well, and that is an understatement. And it was more of the same that we're seeing right now. It was the Biden administration many times wading into internal Israeli issues like Judea and Samaria, the biblical heartland. The world calls it the West Bank. Here on The Watchman, we call it Judea and Samaria because that's what the Bible calls it. But the Iran issue, which is not only internal, obviously an existential threat to Israel, but a global threat and a global problem. That was another issue that Bibi and Obama butted heads on. You see the Biden administration now taking the opportunity to throw Bibi under the bus. Now, Biden did it again in a very public way, and he pledged that he's such a good friend of Israel and he cares about Israel, and he's known Bibi for years, for decades. Both of them have said as much. Then why not call Bibi personally on the phone and talk about this privately before going so public with it, if you go public with it at all, a dispute among friends? Better yet, why not meet with Bibi face-to-face, eye-to-eye, in person, and talk about this? Instead, he sounds off, again, multiple stops yesterday, and slams Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm sure, I know for a fact, the Israeli government does not appreciate the way this was handled. That's number one, folks. Just bad all around. If Israel is indeed a close friend, and handle it like close friends do. Come to each other first, talk about it first, and then take it from there. Number 2, and I said this earlier, Israel is a sovereign nation. There's not much to say here, folks, other than that. I don't know many nations around the world other than Israel that the world dictates to. You must do this or else. Constantly. Again, Benjamin Netanyahu is the freely elected leader of a democratic nation, the nation of Israel. The people have spoken. And now he is putting through an agenda. Yes, some of the people don't agree with it. But again, the majority of the people in Israel apparently do, because they voted for him by a pretty wide margin. And now he has a right-wing government. He had that mandate to assemble the government of his choosing. This is how democracy works. And yet we have the Biden administration lecturing Israel about democracy. I'll tell you something. When you have 5 elections in 4 years, which Israel just went through, that's pretty much the height of democracy. What's happening in Israel right now is an internal Israeli political issue. I don't see Bibi issuing statements over internal American political divides and wading into that, because it would be inappropriate. The United States is a sovereign nation. We'll make our own laws, and we'll do what we need to do, what we feel is best for our citizenry. Not only the United States, any nation in the world should feel that way. Yet Israel constantly is targeted, again, a sovereign nation that can make up its own mind and make its own rules and laws and govern itself quite nicely, thank you. They've been doing a pretty good job of it for the past 75 years, but we have the world wading into this and lecturing Israel. Folks, it's infuriating as a supporter of Israel to see this. Israel is a strong sovereign nation. Hey, it was just ranked the 10th most powerful nation in the world by U.S. News and World Report, for what that's worth. So I'm pretty sure Israel can do just fine on its own when it comes to governing its citizenry. Last point here. The timing couldn't be worse for Israel's greatest ally, historically at least, the United States, to come out and slam Israel, slam the government in Israel. As I said, the enemies are at the gates. The Iranian regime is watching. Hezbollah, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, the Assad regime in Syria, Russia lurking in the background. They're watching all of this unfold. They see the current leadership in Israel. You can't help but think that the coalition now is weakened in Israel after going through these mass demonstrations. And they see the internal divide in Israel. Again, a house divided against itself cannot stand. And Israel's enemies, quite frankly, folks, are licking their chops as they watch this. And what does the United States do? Again, ostensibly and historically Israel's greatest ally, the United States enters the fray and piles on. So now Israel's enemies say, wow, not only is Israel internally divided, America is even taking a step back from Israel. Wow, Israel's all alone. They're truly isolated. That's what Israel's enemies are thinking right now. So a lot to unpack, folks. A dangerous time for Israel. But the great news is, and you know this if you watch the Watchman newscast on a regular basis, Israel is anything but alone, because the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, neither slumbers nor sleeps. This is a very difficult time for Israel, no doubt. God's hand is on that land, number one. Number two, Bibi is a strong leader. I believe he will find a way through this. It won't be easy. He may have to compromise in some areas that he doesn't want to. But in terms of the relationship with the United States, I'm not quite sure where it's going, but I could see increased hostility and criticism from the Biden administration, no doubt. And I don't think Bibi is going to budge on some of these things, again, and nor should he, because he was elected and Israel is a sovereign nation. As Netanyahu said today in response to Biden's remarks, look, we have a great relationship with the U.S., but we're a sovereign nation. We can govern ourselves quite nicely, and we're not going to change our course for the wishes of others. Even the best of friends, he said, referring to the United States. So folks, keep all of this in prayer. Israel needs it right now. Again, a very dangerous time as the enemies are gathering, not only at the gates, but inside the gates. We've had this terror wave in Israel over the past few weeks in Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria. Prayer works. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for wisdom for Israel's leaders and for the leadership here in the United States, because I would caution, the book of Genesis is very clear that those who curse Israel, well, let's just say it doesn't end very well for them. Check out Genesis 12:3 for a reminder of that. Hey, thanks so much for joining us here today on the Watchman Newscast. Until tomorrow, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.